Welcome to the Emetophobia-free podcast. Today we are joined by Debi Morgan, who is one of our lovely coaches based over in Florida. And Debi is here today to talk all about her journey through the program, where she was supporting her granddaughter who had quite a severe form of emetophobia. And through that process and through that journey, Debi learned a lot of lessons along the way and was so impacted by the program that she decided to become a coach and to help other people who are struggling with emetophobia. But she really wanted to join us today to talk about being a parent or a grandparent of somebody or of a child, a young person with emetophobia, and how you can best support them and almost share the pitfalls along the way that she experienced to help other people avoid those same pitfalls. Would that be a fair summary, Debi?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it
Fabulous.
is.
And welcome to the podcast. I feel like I've just introduced you there and not even said hello. How are you?
I'm good. And you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm not so
Good.
bad at all. So, Debi, over to you, really. Do you want to just give us an overview of your granddaughter and the situation that she found herself in and your role in that?
Okay. Well, I'll start and give you a little bit of background. I have a daughter, a single daughter, and two grandchildren. One now is 17, the one who was struggling with emetophobia, the girl, and I have a grandson who is 19 now.
Right.
So this has been probably about a 6-year journey so far. And she was 11 years old when this started. And my grandson was 13.
Okay.
So both very critical ages for changing and socializing and doing all the things that young preteens and teens do.
Yeah.
I will say that I have had a very close relationship with them. I live very close by. My daughter has worked all kinds of hours, late, weekends, nights, days, etc. And during that period of time, I was the caretaker for both grandchildren. So I was very involved in their upbringing and very involved with them in everything that they were doing. Mm-hmm. So I will say, first of all, that my granddaughter was a very bubbly, happy, carefree, as most kids are, young girl who loved to play and romp, and she was always the one that was there in the mix of it. She had lots of friends, very social, doing well in school. She's very artistically inclined. And she does quite a bit of drawing and painting, etc. She was just a wonderful child. I mean, just was really enjoying life. And she, at the end of her 5th grade, which is grammar school here, the end of her 5th grade year, she started to be in, she actually was accepted into the Cambridge program.
Okay.
And she was having something that we call the Florida assessment test, which are long and involved. They're day-long tests, goes on for about a week. And both tests for both the Cambridge and for FSA are very involved and very intense. And so during that period of time, she became very anxious. I think it felt like it was too much for her. She was anxious. She was stressed. She was complaining of being nauseous. And she did get through that. She got through the test. She got through the FSAs. But then she started to dislike going to school. She did not want to go to school. She felt uncomfortable. We weren't exactly sure what it was because she wasn't saying that she was uncomfortable because she felt nauseous or felt stressed. She probably didn't understand it herself.
No.
And she was merely reacting to how she felt. But this progressed, and let me just say, first of all, that she's always been a very picky eater. She's always had limited eating. Foods, she limits her foods. She has a few things that she eats, and that's it. And her eating process has to be a certain way. And she's always been very careful about that. And so there's always been an eating component to her life.
Okay.
But it became a situation where during the summer, that was the end of her 5th grade year. During the summer, she began to eat less and less as time went on. She began not to leave her room. She would not leave her room. She would not come out and socialize with the family. She just sat in her bed all the time and did nothing. Basically just sat perfectly still and would not eat, would not drink, would not interact. And when I tried to talk to her, not just me, anyone tried to talk with her or coax her or try to get her to eat. And it was a struggle, a complete struggle with her. She would not, the more I tried to make her eat, the more I tried to explain to her. And we're a family that uses logic all the time. So I was trying to explain to her exactly the reason why she had to eat. And it was nonsense to her. She didn't care because she had one focus only. And that was that she was not going to be sick.
Yeah.
And eating may cause her to be sick. So no matter what she did, she was hypervigilant. She was not going to eat.
Yeah.
So it was pointless for me
so when did that, sorry to interrupt there, Deb, when did that become apparent that it was a fear of being sick that was driving this lack of eating and lack of socializing?
Well, honestly, we didn't know that. We didn't know that was it.
They still didn't know that at the time, right? Okay.
No, we didn't know this all through the entire thing because we thought, well, first of all, we thought that we wanted to rule out anything physical.
Yeah.
So we didn't know if it was physical or not because she wouldn't say that I don't want to eat because I'm going to be sick. She never said anything like that.
Right.
But we assumed that she thought that if she ate, she would have a problem. Right. Now, whether that was a tummy ache or throwing up, we weren't sure. We didn't know. So, she may have said, well, during the first part of it, she did say, I feel like I'm going to be sick. But then that was the only time. But then when she started not eating, we weren't sure what it was. So we went the physical route. We were like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take her and we're going to get her tested and we're going to take her to the doctors and we're going to make sure we're going to rule out. It was like a scientific thing. We're going to rule out everything, one thing at a time, right?
Yep.
So she went to doctors. She went to a gastroenterologist. She had tests. She had a scope. She had a test to make sure that food was going through her system properly. She was given, during those tests all came out fine.
Yeah.
So there was no problem there. We knew that. Then she wasn't eating still, and we were concerned. So one evening we decided we would take her to the emergency room.
Okay.
Because she was weak. Yeah. And it was clear that she was weak. And she was stressed. You could tell how stressed she was. And how, it's just imagine you're sitting in a bed and you don't want to do anything. You don't want to move. You don't want to breathe. You don't want to do anything because something might cause this horrible thing to happen to you.
Yes.
So I understand that now. I didn't understand that totally then. I could see the physical manifestation of all of that, but I didn't know what was going on in her mind because she was resistant to discussing it because that was one more thing that might cause it to happen.
Of course. Yes.
So, So we took her for an emergency visit, and they gave her an anti-nausea medicine.
Okay.
And that worked a little bit. Now, whether it worked because it physically worked or whether it worked because it made her believe that it was something we were doing to help.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a placebo. I don't know. Anyway, it worked.
Okay.
And for short, very, very short amount of time. And then we were back to the same thing again. But all during this time, she still hasn't eaten. She would eat only a few, like she would take a couple of bites, or she would, take a little sip of water or something like that. But that was it. So a couple more visits to the emergency room and hospitals, and there was never an issue. I mean, there was never anything that they could pinpoint and say, this is what it is physically. So we figured there's nothing physical going on here. But the physical thing that was paramount with us at the moment was that she was getting very thin.
Yeah.
She was very weak. She was highly stressed. And we didn't know what to do. And she was refusing to do anything for herself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she understood. I don't think she understood what was happening. I don't think she was clearly thinking about what was going on there.
No.
So anyway, so this went on for probably a few weeks. And she was, like I said, she was just getting a very small amount of, like, a nibble here, a nibble there, some water here, a little bit of water. She ended up, because she absolutely refused to eat and refused to do anything. She was very angry with everybody. Mm-hmm. Because I'm sure she didn't get it. And she felt terrible all the time. Mm-hmm. And so she ended up in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And when we took her to the emergency room, she was, sorry, this part's a little emotional for me.
Don't worry.
She was unable to walk and unable to go in on her own. So we had to carry her in. And when they saw her, they said, that's it. We're admitting her. She needs help now. So they admitted her, and they took care of her, and they had a battery of tests, and they brought in a psychiatrist. They put her on a feeding tube. She was in the hospital for a week. When she came out, she was being fed through the tube, and she had psychiatric help, and she was medicated. They put her on two different medications, one for eating, which would cause her to eat or have an appetite, although she wasn't eating solid food. They wanted to get her appetite back, and one for her anxiety and her stress. So she seemed to be much better when she got out of the hospital. She was laughing, she was talking, she was able to discuss things with us, but she still would not give any clear indication that she understood anything that was going on with her. Okay. She went into therapy, and therapy was basically just a therapist that was discussing her feelings, and she was becoming more open with her feelings, but she would not go to therapy without my daughter.
Okay.
So she developed an attachment to my daughter that was, she had to be everywhere with her. She was her crutch, basically. So we knew that wasn't really healthy, but we wanted her to get well. And then we could deal with anything else that was the case. So, but she started to get better, and she put on weight, and she started walking around the neighborhood, and she had a pet bird that she had on her shoulder all the time. And she was talking with everybody, and, riding her bike and just having fun, just normal things that she had before. And then she went back to school for one semester, and then COVID hit.
Okay.
And when COVID hit, all the schools closed down here, and she went to school for that year online. Mm-hmm. And she had online school. After that, she was still going through therapy, and she seemed to be getting better, although the tube came out and she was able to eat solid food, but she was still resistant to try anything or do anything different than she had like 3 foods that she ate, and that was it.
Yeah.
So then she was basically isolated during that period of time with just the family and her brother, who was home in homeschool as well. And after that, COVID, she went through COVID. It was fairly normal. She had friends online. She was playing games and having fun and meeting in groups and that kind of thing. So she seemed to be socializing. She seemed to be doing okay with her schoolwork. And then it was time for her to go back to school. They opened the schools, and she'd missed a year, a little more than a year, about a year and a half, 2 years. She was ready to go back to school. That was not going to work out. She went for a short amount of time, and she managed to get out of 8th grade, but it was like 1 day a week, 2 days a week. She was very resistant, did not want to go to school. She felt like she couldn't cope with what was going on there. So she went back to being online school partly because she called me one evening, and I thought she was completely having a breakdown of some sort, and she wanted to talk to me about school and not going to school, and wanted to talk to me about an alternative, and she wanted me to help her with her parents, and she wanted, because they were trying to make her go to school. Okay. And she sounded really terrible. I mean, she was totally not a happy kid at that point.
Yeah.
So I said I would help. So I said I would get, everybody could get together and we talk about it. So we did. And we compromised. And at that point, I think we did a half on, half off, like half day at school, half. So that was fine. And she did okay with that. But then she started resisting going to that. There were all kinds. And she was not socializing. She was staying in the room with the teacher during lunches. So, there was still a reticence to be social. Now, I know part of that may have been because of COVID, because that's what a lot of kids had, that same issue during COVID. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so then she started going to school online, and she seemed to be doing okay, and she was going through therapy, and she was able to go out and do things and have fun, and her food was still limited. And she was not interested in trying to go back to school. That was an issue. And there were some pretty rough mornings and times when we were trying to make her go to school. But at any rate, she did go online school. And then I decided, because she wanted to see this band that was playing, and they were only playing in Chicago. And so I decided that I would take the family and her to see this band in Chicago. So we went to see it, and she was good all the way up. She enjoyed the flight. She enjoyed getting there. We were walking around sightseeing. Everything seemed fairly normal. Still only certain foods. And we went, she was weak because she wasn't getting vitamins. She wasn't getting what she needed. But at that point, it was just, let's just enjoy this, give her some free time to enjoy something. So in Chicago, everything went great. We had a great time, and we were on our way out. And as it is when you're traveling, your routine is different. And she did not get her breakfast that she normally gets. And we were on our way to the airport, and she had taken her medicine already, and she became nauseous.
Okay.
And on the way out of the hotel, she was sick.
Okay.
And it was public. Mm-hmm. And if I could explain to you, the look on her face was total horror when it happened. Like she was sure that there was something, because she had not been physically sick during this whole time. So when it happened, we thought it was interesting, because we thought, this is great. Thought she'll see that she managed it.
Yeah.
She was able to get over it. She was able to move on.
Yeah.
We made it to the airport. We made it to the flight. It was very touch and go, but we did it. And then she was fine after that, and we came home, and we thought, this is great, because now she's done it. She's experienced it. She's known she was able to handle it, and we're all good. Mm-hmm. Well, no, it wasn't that way.
Yeah.
It was worse. Mm-hmm. So this was when, let me backtrack 1 second, because during this period of time of these 2 or 3 years, we also had come across the Thrive program. Okay. I believe my daughter did when she was researching it, researching her symptoms, the daughter's symptoms. And she found the Thrive program, and we had purchased the book and gone through some of it. But she wouldn't stick with it. So we did not get a coach at that time. But at this time, when we came back from Chicago, and she wasn't leaving her room, and she wasn't going to do anything, and we were back to a similar, what we felt was backtracking. Yeah. We decided that we would send her through the Thrive program. So we got a coach, and we sent her through the Thrive program, and there was not immediate success. She went through it fine. She did great while she was in it. And she really did improve then, little bit at a time. She was improving. This was in 2023, I think. Okay. So she's still on the improvement part. Yeah. But it's work in progress. But she's a totally different person to talk to. And I think I credit the Thrive program for it, because it was a straightforward way for her to understand what was happening, and she could understand that she was in control. Yeah. And she was empowered to help herself. And I don't believe she ever felt that she was capable of that, or it was anything that she could do. I think she felt that this was happening to her, and she was completely out of control. Mm-hmm. But after the Thrive program, I think she realized that she was capable of handling the situations that came her way. Yeah. And so for this reason, I wanted to become a Thrive coach, because during that period of time, it's such a horrible feeling to be completely unable to help or to understand what's going on with your child. If a child has a physical illness and they find a physical illness is being treated, it's completely different, because you know what it is, you know what you can treat. This was not physical. This was something that was going on in her mind. Mm-hmm. And there was no way for us to unlock it without the skills and the knowledge that we gained from the Thrive program. Right. So for us, it was a godsend for the family. Yes. So I can't say enough about it. And that's why I don't want anyone else to feel this way about watching their child or their grandchild struggle. Yeah. Yeah. So what a journey that you've all been on. And to, you said the word, the helplessness, feeling helpless when you're watching someone that you love very dearly get to the stage where they can't walk themselves into an ER room is really quite severe, and must have felt horrible and horrendous for all of you, because no matter what you did or what you tried, it wasn't working. And that's the reason that we do what we do, isn't it, now? Because it's very much education is the center of it all, because if you had that knowledge and that understanding and
and that education around how our minds work beforehand, then you
Mm-hmm.
could have responded to her completely differently, and you would have responded to her completely differently. So credit to you for going through it yourself and for training yourself up and for, being a beacon of light for those people out there who are currently going through this. How is she doing now? Is she back at school and doing what she needs to be doing?
She is online school now, and she is doing well.
Yeah.
She is still reticent to go out a lot, or to venture to eat different foods. She is happy, I think, in her world.
Yeah.
We would like to see her world expand, but we want her to do this for herself.
Yeah.
So she is the one in control.
Yep.
We can help, we can guide, but we're certainly not in control. And she's a young woman now. She's 17.
Yeah.
So she'll be 18 soon. So hopefully she has a lot of activity. She has lots of friends. They're all online friends, but I think that's normal for quite a few young teenagers now. So, but I would like to say one other thing, and that is that it's very hard to understand what happens to the dynamic in your family. It's not only the person that is struggling, it's everyone in the family. The whole family dynamic changes. And my grandson at the time was a teenager, just entering into his teenage years, and all of his teenage years, basically. Yeah. So this was going on in the family, and the family's focus was, of course, because it was what we felt was a life-threatening situation, our focus was on my granddaughter.
Yeah.
So it changes for everybody. It was very stressful for my daughter, who was working and trying to take care of two teenage kids, one with emetophobia. And so that's one of the reasons why I say, even if no one else in your family, if you're experiencing this and no one else in your family is able or willing to go through the Thrive program, do it for yourself. Yeah. Because it's going to help you tremendously.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And even if the child themselves isn't at a stage where they feel able to go through it, or they feel able to access it or feel ready for it, it's still so beneficial for you as the adult, whoever you may be in relation to that child, to go through it for the reasons that we're going to explore shortly. It allows you to respond to them and to interact with them in a powerful, proactive, helpful way, and stops you from feeling like just fumbling through the dark and just trying things because I don't know what else to do, so let's try this and let's try that. It gives you a very clear way in which to respond to them, in which to communicate with them, which will only be helpful and be helpful for you as well.
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay. So with that in mind, then let's go on to our 3 tips, or your 3 tips, Debi, because that's quite a lived experience that you've been through. And I'm really glad that your granddaughter is feeling more powerful now and feeling like she can move forward when she's ready to, because that's, the goal. If she's not ready to at this moment in time, that's fine. But if she knows the options there, she knows what to do, that's half the battle. She knows what's going on for her. She's not feeling helpless anymore. That's brilliant. So the 3 tips then that you have for any adult supporting a child or young person through the program. The first one that you generated was don't fight control with control. So do you want to just explore that a little bit more and give us a little bit of context around what you meant there?
Right. The reason why I wanted this was one of the tips is that when she was very sick and wouldn't eat, and she was combative and unable to tell us what the problem was, and just angry about and refusing to eat. And we knew that she needed to eat. Of course, everybody needs to eat and nourish themselves. So I was very forceful with her. I told her that this was not going to end well. I told her that, there's a possibility that she could become very ill. I told her that she needed to eat no matter what. Mm-hmm. And I took food into her and I said, you're going to eat this now. Mm-hmm. Now I know, and the more I tried to do that, and the more I tried to force her to eat, the more she resisted.
Yeah.
And I was unaware at the time that she wanted to be in control of what was going on with her body. And if the only way that she felt she could be in control was if she did not eat. And I was trying to force her to do the one thing that she could not do.
Yeah.
And by all means did not want to do.
Yes. So
that's why I say you should not, anyone in this situation should not fight control with control, because it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
So it's certainly not productive, and it's certainly not helpful in any way.
Yes.
It actually sets you back.
It does. But you can see why that was the option that you chose at that time. You can see when you are at your wit's end and you're watching your child or granddaughter lose weight and become malnourished and become weak, you can see why that would seem like a feasible option and the way forward. But as we know now, emetophobia is built around desire for control. It's all about control. It's all about that feeling of dread when you're out of control and not being able to control things around you. So you put lots and lots of effort into controlling things. So when someone tries to tackle that, if you will, through love and compassion and trying to do the right thing, it doesn't really matter, because you are going to just put more walls up and you are going to dig your heels in even further, because you have fought this hard to stay in control and you're going to keep fighting to stay in control. So what would be the advice that you would give others in your position if you are, a parent or a grandparent of a child who is really struggling to eat and is becoming unwell? Instead of forcing them to eat, what would be your advice?
I think I would try to allow her to have that decision.
Okay. Because
if I allowed her to have that decision, then it would be her choice. Knowing that it's difficult, actually, because knowing how hard she's fighting it, I would try very hard to allow her to come to that decision. Mm-hmm. The difference is now that I know what's going on. I know what was going on with her. At the time, I had no idea. Yeah. So knowledge is power in this situation.
Yes.
So if I had had the Thrive program at that time, then I would have been more willing to empower her to make that decision for herself.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And it's a very difficult thing to do when you don't have that power, because that leads us beautifully into tip number 2, which is learn to thrive yourself. Learn yourself what's going on so that you can be the person to support them in the best way and model how to be empowered and model these things. So do you want to talk a little bit about that in terms of, the lack of understanding and how that impacted your responses to her and your interactions with her, and how it made a difference to really then understand what was going on?
Well, of course, because I did not trust her to be able to do it herself.
Right.
And because I did not trust her and did not understand that she was fully capable of doing it herself, given the skills and the understanding. Mm-hmm. So because I did not trust her, she felt that I did not trust her to do it. And because of that, I was taking away her power rather than giving her power.
Yes.
And so I think that looking back at it now, if I had had the knowledge and the skills to understand what she was thinking and why she was thinking it, then I could have given her more of, I could have been empathetic, but not sympathetic, which is what I
Yes.
was.
Yes. Yes.
So that's it. I was acting out of fear, mostly fear and not knowing and not understanding and feeling like she could tell me. I mean, there were times I just wanted to say, just tell me what's wrong.
Yes.
But the fact is, she didn't know what was wrong any more than I knew what was wrong.
No.
But having gone through the Thrive program and having understood now what is involved with emetophobia and how the control is and how you want to be in control and how you want to be able to make your own decisions about what you do, makes a huge difference, because that's the only way that you can build upon that.
Yes.
To have real success at overcoming it.
Absolutely.
So I think it's very important that anyone in this situation educates themselves and learns the skills, which are both readily available through the Thrive program.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that does lead us again nicely into tip number 3, which is respond, don't react. So you mentioned there earlier that you were just doing things out of love and trying to protect her and to rescue her almost and to fix it for her. And that's such a normal thing, a normal response as a loving parent or grandparent, because when your child or your grandchild is suffering, you don't want them to suffer. You know, you want
Right.
that feeling for them to go away and you want that problem to go away. However, when we rush in with solutions, which one of which is, you know, you're going to eat this control, you're going to eat this food, that's my solution here. We rush in with solutions and fixes and we sort of try and knock down all those hurdles for them. They don't develop the skills themselves in order to knock down the hurdles for themselves. They're not allowed to do that.
We did that partly because, first of all, everything that we did, like as you said, we did out of love, and out of a lot of it was because we were afraid. We were afraid for her, and we wanted her to be better. We wanted her to feel better. We wanted her to not be in a dangerous situation so that she could lose her life or not have any quality of life for herself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that because when I talked to her, I started to, every time I talked to her, I started to, before I went through the program, I started to feel like I had to walk on eggshells. I had to say only certain things. I had to allude to certain things. I could never come out and tell her exactly how I felt about anything, because I felt like, honestly, I felt like she was broken. I felt like she was incapable because she was so broken. That was such a wrong assumption on my part.
Yeah.
But it was out of love and fear and desire to protect her.
Absolutely.
And desire for her not to hurt anymore. But at the same time, as I was feeling that, it was giving her the impression that I felt like she could not do anything for herself. I even gave her ready excuses. Like if she couldn't come up with an excuse for herself in something that I was talking with her about, I just fill it in for her.
Yeah.
So all of that led to her feeling helpless and having a learned helplessness, actually, because then I don't need to do anything because I'm incapable and everyone around me can help me and do it for me because I need help. I'm broken.
Yes. Yeah.
So far from the truth. She is a strong, bright, intelligent young girl.
Mm.
And out of love and out of compassion and out of fear, we didn't recognize that. And we didn't give her the feeling that that was true.
Yeah. The credit that she did it. So why do you think that is? Why do you think that you and her parents potentially try to jump in with solutions and didn't allow her to work through that herself? What was going on for you as the grandparent? What were you trying to avoid or achieve by doing that, do you think?
Because I wanted to control the direction.
Right.
Because I wanted an upward trajectory no matter what. Mm-hmm. And so if there was something that was difficult for her, I was going to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't need to fix it. She could fix it.
Yes.
But I didn't know that at the time.
Yes.
And because I wanted everything to be smooth and I wanted everything to go well and I wanted to be in control of that and help and that's why I did it.
Yes.
And I didn't understand at the time that she was quite capable.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to speak for her. I didn't have to make excuses for her if she wanted to make an excuse, because sometimes she probably wasn't even going to give me an excuse, but I was there and willing and able to give her one.
Yes.
So that was what we all did during that period of time. And we did it because we loved her and we didn't want her to struggle anymore. And we wanted everything to be okay. Yes. And we wanted the family to be okay.
Yes.
And we didn't realize that family could not be okay until we all became educated and we all became skilled in understanding what was happening and how she was not being allowed to deal with what was going on.
Yes. I think a good analogy here that's sprung to mind is if you imagine there's a child in a field, an open field, and you have an obstacle course in front of them, right? And every time they reach an obstacle or something difficult or something challenging, they've got to climb up something or under something or through something, the parent rushes in and goes, wait there, removes it, and then they move on. And then there's next obstacle and they go, okay, I'm struggling with that. And the parent's going, oh, they can't, no, I'm going to take it away for them. I'm going to try it. I'll fix that one as well. They'll get to the end of that field with no skills in how to overcome obstacles. They won't have struggled an awful lot along the way, but they will not know how to deal with those obstacles and stresses and hurdles of life. And that's the same, it's a difficult skill, right? But it's the same thing when you're going through emetophobia. To be a parent, to sit back and go, do you know what? I can see the struggle. They're in that field. They're trying to climb up that thing and they've tried 3 times and they've fallen back down 3 times. But I'm there at the sidelines. I'm encouraging them. I'm supporting them. I'm guiding them. I'm bigging them up. I'm supporting them. I'm empowering them. But I'm a coach. I'm on the sidelines. I'm cheering them on. I'm not taking that hurdle away for them. That's what we need to be doing for them, because that child will get over those hurdles eventually and they'll learn from that and they'll build their self-esteem and they'll build their self-belief. And eventually they'll go, actually, I can do things on my own. I don't need other people and I'm powerful. I can do these things. And that's what we need to promote, when we don't want to. It's uncomfortable for us as parents and grandparents to see our children struggling, but it's essential that they do have those challenges in life and that they're allowed to face them themselves rather than us rushing in with solutions.
Well, I think you hit on it too, because you said when the parents or grandparents feel uncomfortable, that was the crux of it, was that we were feeling very uncomfortable when she was struggling, and we didn't want to feel that discomfort ourselves.
Right. Yes.
Not selfishly, but just that was a natural reaction from us because we weren't aware of what exactly was going on. So
that's it. Brilliant.
It's a great parenting skill.
Yes, yes. And knowledge is power, as you said right at the beginning.
Yes.
Knowledge is power. When you understand fully what's going on, you can then support really effectively and communicate really effectively. When you don't understand what's going on, you're stabbing in the dark.
Right.
And that's not a great place to be, and it does promote this feeling of helplessness.
Right. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Debi, because it was a very emotional story to tell, and you and your family have been through an awful lot. And I'm very grateful for you taking the time to come and share your story, because there will be other parents and other grandparents out there who are dealing with similar situations and feeling just as helpless as you were. And I hope that your tips and your recommendations and your lived experience can support them and will support them. And yeah, thank you so much for that, because it was really, really important to share our stories, to educate, because as we know, knowledge is power. So
thank you so much for having me.
We'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much. I hope to see you on the podcast again at some point soon.
Yes.
And yeah, have a lovely rest of your day. Speak to you soon.
All right. You as well.
Bye.